Hello class. We're going to continue with the mammalian homeostasis lab now. This lab has a series of experiments testing the simulated urine A, B, C, and D. In the first experiment, you tested pH with the test strips. And I have my test strips here. Two of them have a greenish blue color and two have a yellowish color. What you're going to be doing is looking at the color and matching it to a color on that pH test strip key and indicating the pH for each urine in the table in the lab. The second experiment was the glucose test, in which we tested the urine for sugars. Glucose is a sugar that can be present in the urine. And for that we used the Benedict's solution in a hot water bath. Now I just left my test tubes with the Benedict's in a mug of hot water that had just been boiling on the stove. I left it in those test tubes in the mug for 3 minutes and I did see a reaction. So you don't have to keep the test tubes boiling on the stove or in the microwave for that long. A simple large mug to hold the test tubes in the hot water is fine. And with that, I posted a picture of the results. The next test on our docket is a protein test where we would use the Biuret solution. Comes in a dropper bottle in your lab kit. It's blue. And for that, you would use the same urine, A, B, C, and D, and 25 drops of the Biuret in each of the test tubes. I'm not going to perform that experiment for you, although I will say that a color change from blue to a different color is a positive reaction. If you don't see a color change, that is, if the test tube kind of stays a bluish color, similar to a diluted Biuret reagent color, then that's a negative. If you see a change at all, that's a positive for protein. Okay. The third test in the urinalysis is a test for yeast. And I wanted to perform this one because in the last lab, in the enzyme lab, you tested the reaction of catalase enzyme on hydrogen peroxide. Catalase is an enzyme found in yeast and other organisms. Catalase facilitates the breakdown of hydrogen peroxide into oxygen gas and water. So, if yeast is present in the urine, it will break down hydrogen peroxide. So we test with hydrogen peroxide, put 2 drops in each test tube. And to do that, I just use a clean pipette from my lab kit to add 2 drops, swirl, and we'll look for the sign of bubbles. Bubbles are the oxygen gas being given off. You want to swirl this and give it a minute or two to see if there is any yeast present in the urine. I see little tiny bubbles in some of these. So if you see any bubbles at all, that indicates a little bit of the yeast. The last test that you will do is a ketone test, and for that you're going to be using scent for the test. And look for the appendix for guidance on that. Record your results in the table.